Exuro turret builds are very strong, as long as you avoid these 5 things, all of which will stop you from setting the Division 2 world on fire. The centrepiece of the Exuro gear set is the incinerator turret, which deals damage in an awesome 360-degree arc, but the 2 and 3 piece bonuses telegraph how this gear set should really be used. This gear set is for burn builds, not skill damage, and that means stacking stasis effects on every piece of gear. This works perfectly with the Vile Mask and its toxic delivery debuff, which scales off the stasis effect attribute, making it an essential part of any Exuro build. Applying any stasis effect will hit targets for around 1 million of debuff damage. On paper, the incinerator turret looks like it has one huge issue: its incredibly long base cooldown of nearly 51 seconds compared to its duration of under 30 seconds. The key with this skill is to actively manage it, apply burn to enemies, and then turn it off by hitting the skill button again. By doing this, you can keep the turret up for minutes rather than seconds, and as we all know, keeping up longer is always a good thing. The other skill that Exuro builds use is the fast starter chem launcher, which with the additional burn damage, duration and stasis effects of these builds is a one shot for everything other than elite enemies. This is a great skill, but you need to know how to get the most out of it. Firing the chem launcher is easy. Hit the relevant skill button, aim and shoot. Then, and this is the important thing, double tap the same skill button to trigger it. This is much quicker than swapping back to your weapon and trying to shoot the cloud. The Exuro chest piece talent is an interesting take on creeping death, but not a good one. Once enemies are set on fire by the turret, they will ignite other enemies at any time if they move within 2 meters of them. In practice though, this rarely happens, and enemies just stagger around the same spot until they die. The talent on the Exuro backpack is a little better, providing 25% buffs to weapon damage and increasing the turret's range to 19 meters, enough to hit entire areas. So the best Exuro builds will feature the backpack, gloves, holster and knee pads of the gear set. For the chest piece, you can pick which brand works best for you. I'm using Hanayu for its skill haste, but Golem Gear or Electric brands with their status effect will also be great. For the chest piece talent, I would recommend Kinetic Momentum, which works really well with the turret when it is managed properly. Most build guides will tell you that you must use the Survivalist specialization. It comes with 10% additional damage to enemies affected with a status effect, protection from elites, and the incendiary grenade, another source of burn application. But I don't think that it is a must use. An all yellow core build has very little armor. One mistake and you are burnt toast, and for solo players that can be very frustrating. To compensate for this, I've rolled one piece of gear to armor, and I'm using the technician specialization to get back to 6 skill tiers. In all my playtesting, I have never encountered a time when I didn't have either the turret or the chem launcher available, or both, to apply burn, so the incendiary grenade is actually a little overkill. On top of that, one of the weaknesses of this build is Warhounds, because they are immune to burn damage, so the extra 12% damage to them that the technician specialization gives is actually really good. This season came with the new exotic weapon, the Iron Lung. Now you might think that this is a perfect weapon for this build because it can apply burn damage. I'm here to tell you no. Stick with that old skill build favourite, Capacitor, with its weapon damage scaling off skill tiers and its great 60% skill damage buff. It is just perfect for this build. The Iron Lung is a great weapon, but you don't need another way to apply burn, and like all LMGs, it is not as good against heavily armoured enemies due to its lower damage to health compared to most ARs, something that this build sorely needs. You can also use a weapon with the talent Perpetuation, but given how hard the burn damage hits, you don't really need it. Exuro turret builds are insanely good and great fun to play, particularly in small locations like DUA. But if these burn builds don't quite hit the spot for you, then you must try out this build here, which can clear entire fights in just one shot.